Hi, everybody, and welcome back to video number 6 in Chapter 8. When we left off, we were looking at how we manage inventories by using common ratios. And here, the common ratios used in management are the inventory turns here, and then the average days to sell that inventory. So the inventory turnover ratio measures the number of times an average company sells inventory during the period. And of course, you can use page 4-34, so you don't need to memorize all these ratio formulas. But I do want you to know what they mean. And here, that means it measures the number of times on average a company sells inventory during the period. For me, that's a little difficult to relate to. I much prefer the average days to sell inventory, and that represents, I should say, the average number of days sales for which a company has inventory on hand. So here, we're going to determine the ending inventory by applying the LIFO retail methods. The primary reason to use LIFO, almost the entire advantage to using LIFO, is tax advantages. It results in better matching of costs and revenues because the costs are the latest costs because we're selling from the bottom up. And what we have left in inventory is going to be the older costs. So LIFO retail is made under two assumptions. There's stable pricing or there's fluctuating pricing. A major assumption of the LIFO retail method is that the markups and markdowns apply only to the goods purchased during the current period and not to beginning inventory. Stable prices. So, the Hernandez Company. Let's take a look at that illustration. Here's our costs. We have 27,000 beginning inventory and retail for 45,000. We purchased $346,500 worth in the period, and that's going to be the total, excluding beginning inventory, would be here. Now, on the retail side, we apply the net markups and the net markdowns, and that is 495,000. So the total beginning inventory then is going to be 373,000, the 346,000 plus the 27,000, and the total retail would be 495,000 plus the 45,000 in beginning inventory. I back out net sales during the period, 484,000, and that leaves me with ending inventory at retail of 56,000. So that we're going to establish a cost to retail percentage by taking this 346,500 divided by this $495,000 retail number, and that gives us 70%. All right. All right, now once we've got that 70%, the inventory is composed of two layers. We have the 45,000. That's the cost to retail here was 60,000, 60%. And that 60% is calculated by taking the 27,000 here and the 45,000. And so that gives us 60% in beginning inventory, if you will. But then we have layers. We had 11,000 at 70%, gives us $7,700. So our retail then our ending inventory at LIFO cost is going to be 34,700. A little complex there, but I think you can, with a little practice, you can see what they're saying. Okay, so now the ending inventory at 2026, I have the layers here that 45,000, 27, that's 60%. But I have the 5,000 from 2025 that I didn't sell at 70%. So that leaves me the 30,920 as my ending inventory at LIFO costs. And we'll notice here that the 2025 layer is reduced by 11,000 to 5,000 because that's where we're selling from the bottom up. And we haven't touched the beginning inventory yet. Everybody good with that? Okay. Dollar value LIFO retail. Here, if the price level does change, the company must eliminate the price change so as to measure the real increase in inventory, not the dollar increase. So, you will be seeing this concept as we proceed into the second semester of the course. So you want to be sure to understand this. So let's look at it. Here, we assume beginning inventory had a retail market value of $10,000 at retail, and ending inventory had a retail market value of $15,000. Assume further that the price level has risen from 100 to 125. You would find that information in the Consumer Price Index if you were wondering where we would really get that in the real world. It's inappropriate to suggest that the real increase in inventory was $5,000 because the price of that inventory level has gone up 25%. So the company must deflate the ending inventory at retail. So if I do that, here's my ending inventory at retail. I'm going to divide that by 1.25. That takes it down to 12,000. My beginning inventory at retail, 10,000. So my real increase in inventory at retail was $2,000. So now my ending inventory at retail on a LIFO basis, my first layer was $10,000, right? And now the second layer is 2,000 times 1.25 or 2,500. So that totals 12,500. Okay, everybody see that? Get comfortable with these deflating and inflating percentages as they will come into practice more as we go through the course. Okay, so now my beginning inventory, here we go. Net purchases, same numbers as before. And now our 70%, same numbers as before. But the ending inventory at retail prices deflated to base year prices is this 56,000 divided by 1.12, 1 plus 12%. And that gets you down to 50,000. And then B, beginning inventory retail at base year prices is 45,000. And inventory increase at retail from beginning of the period is 5,000. Okay, everybody good with that? You may have to look in the book a little bit to pick up some of the things that are missing from this PowerPoint. Okay, now the ending inventory at LIFO cost then, here's those numbers, 45,000, 5,000, and 50,000. And we have the cost to retail of 60% and 70%. with a price index of 1 and also 1.12 here. We multiply those through to get $27,000 and $3,920, leaving us with $30,920 as our ending inventory at LIFO cost. A little complex, but I think if you go through this carefully, you'll understand it. Okay, now fluctuating prices, a comparison of the effective price assumptions here. So the difference between the LIFO approach, stable prices, and the dollar value LIFO method. So here's our stable prices, beginning inventories, the increment 7,700 and 34,700. Now LIFO fluctuating prices, 30,920 in ending inventory. So now, using the data from the previous example, you're going to see an increased ending inventory at LIFO cost. So we're going to assume the retail value of the 2026 ending inventory at current prices is 64,800, and the price index is 20% of the base year on top of the base year, and the cost of retail percentage is 75%. So in base year dollars, the ending inventory is 54,000. We take the $64,800 here and divide that through by 1.2. That's 120%, right? And so now we walk these price indexes through here for the inventory remaining from 2024, 2025, and 2026, and multiply that through times the cost to retail percentage. We get our ending inventory at LIFO cost here at 34,520. Okay, now if we take a look at decreased ending inventory at LIFO cost, so using the data from the previous example, we assume the ending inventory at base year prices is 48,000. When a real decrease in inventory develops, Hernandez peels off the previous layers at prices in existence when the layers were added. So here, here's the 45,000 that's remained since the beginning of time here. And then the $3,000 price index at 1.12 and the cost of retail for that layer, 70%. So our ending inventory at LIFO cost then would be 29,352. All right, let's take a look at the I-Chapt clothing store and employs the conventional retail method, but wishes to change the LIFO retail method to the LIFO retail method beginning in 2026. The amounts shown by the firm's books are as follows. We have beginning inventory here, January 1, 2025. We have net purchases, net markups, net markdowns, and sales revenues all in 2025. We show the cost here and then the retail prices here. All right, let's take a look at that. I think this looks like a good place for us to stop this video. And when we return, we will finish off this chapter and go from there. We'll look at conventional retail inventory method for that I-Chapt clothing store. Until that time, bye for now.